An email I got said, I wanted to share my perspective on testing the cheap stuff and selling it. I think there is a lot more responsibility once you start to actually sell what you are testing versus saying, it's out there, I tested some, your mileage may vary. This is a response to an email that I put out 1, 2, or 3 weeks ago. And for reference, on my Saturday emails, we spend more time writing up the body and adding all the content in those emails than I used to spend making my long form videos back when I was painting houses and doing this on the side. So a lot of thought was put into a specific email about selling off-brand gear. And this is part of the email that was sent to me, and I want to address it on the video because I think it's a very interesting topic. Now, we have about 30 to 40 brands on the shelf right now that are all name brand. And as I get deeper into this world of retail and I have more of a relationship with every manufacturer, I see it's not super special. There are some brands that do a really good job. They're very careful. They're very proud of what they do, and they'll make it in their own country, and they'll baby everything, and some of them make money and some of them don't. But there's, as you know, if you've watched this channel long enough, I'm pretty good at finding the flaws of anything. And I know more flaws than I even share now that I get to see the retail side of things. So that's brand name stuff. Nothing's perfect. It's overbuilt for a reason. And then there's this off-brand stuff that I see on the internet. This is a camp lift. This is not. And we've been testing it. And it's interesting because the information on it is horrifically wrong. The product didn't show up the way it looked on the internet. We don't know if it's CE rated. It's printed on there. And that's the issue. We don't know anything about that. The thing is, people are buying this stuff, and it's not just Amazon. There's plenty of places that sell off-brand stuff that you can buy in bulk. Let's call it what it is, Alibaba. You can buy a bunch of stuff from Alibaba and I guess put it on Amazon. And you could be like, great for dog walking and rope rescue and firefighting and aerial silks. I don't know why they're always throwing aerial silks in there. They're just stuffing the title for SEO. I think that's my biggest issue with off-brand products is the presentation of it. I think there's a lot more responsibility once you start to actually sell what you're testing versus saying it's out there, I tested, your mileage may vary. A joke that I keep throwing around, which I don't know is appropriate or not, you can let me know in the comments below. If people are insistent on using needles, I want to make sure I provide sterile ones. If people want to buy cheap off-brand crap, is it a value add? I guess is the question. It's the thing that I have to decide as I'm deciding who to buy from. Is it a value add to research 30 brands that are selling something off-brand, pick the best one, not the cheapest, but like somewhere in the middle. You know, it's not usually the highest or the cheapest, and break it, batch test it, and be very honest where it came from, what it is, and how we understand the product to be. This was made in China, and that is okay. A lot of products we have are made in China. Taiwan, Vietnam, Czech, Germany, Greece, Italy, everywhere. The world's not a very big place. So that's how a lot of stuff is made. And even stuff that says, made in America, was assembled in America. You don't have to do very much to the product from components you got from China to call it made in America. Jesus. So I suppose that I'm not infatuated with the labels. I test some stuff with a label that I am woefully unimpressed by. And then I test stuff that is off-brand and I'm like, oh my God, that almost broke my machine. Let's talk about ethics first. Is it ethical for me to sell this? That's a straight knockoff. Is that ethical for me to sell? This is not what I'm trying to sell. I want to be clear. That's not the problem I'm trying to solve. I don't want you to have something for $15 that normally costs $60, and then there's a whole bunch of risk of it not working. That is not what I'm trying to do. And that's what I want to make sure I clarify. The bulk of what I'm trying to get on the shelf that's cheaper would be bolting hardware. Because I think a quick link that is $5 or $6 is a lot of money or chain that's like $20 a foot if you want like quality 316L, or welded rings for $5, $10, $15 a piece so you could have wrap rings on your bolting stations. What if I told you I could get all of that base cost plus shipping, tariffs? I could get it base cost for $1 each. Oh, I don't know if I trust that. What if I told you a lot of the places we're getting it from might be only paying that? And it's one thing if somebody invented something. Camp designed this, they made it, and somebody knocked them off. So going back to the first part of the email, there's a testing side of Ryan, and then there's a selling side of Ryan. And is that an issue? I definitely don't think it is, or I wouldn't be doing it. The reason I actually like it is because I don't care what you buy. I have the nice quality, let's call them quick links. Quick links are a generic product that you can get anywhere. It's not a custom design thing. I'm going to have the quality UIA expensive quick links. I'm actually bringing in some from Lapas that are all tested piece for piece because I want to have the best price of the highest quality I can get, right? It's lazy for me to just put $18 quick links on the website and then that's it. It's like, well, you want quality or not? Shame on you for not buying quality. No, I can get quality for like with $5, $6 for a quick link. But if you don't need something name brand tested piece for piece because you're putting a 10 mil quick link on a rappel station and I break it and it breaks all the time at 70 kilonewtons, does it matter? Okay, I wasn't trying to get into this right away. Okay, we're gonna go into it. So this brings us to the next part of the email. You definitely found some weakness in the formal rating system with your testing process, but have you identified weaknesses in your testing process? How are you going to identify and correct mistakes before they impact someone's life? Everyone will make mistakes. It's best to plan for them ahead of time. If you identify a mistake after products have gone out, how will you recall those products? I am less infatuated with the number printed on my gear because I know it was tested in a lab, and sometimes when you do things in real life with it, that you're not going to necessarily get that number, and that drives me nuts. Stay tuned. You think the bolting drama was good. Wait till we get to that. But that's not what this video is about. But what about weaknesses in my tests? What's great about the videos I do, in my opinion, is I show you the entire process. I show you every test. I do not omit any tests. I think it's valuable for people to see and make their own decisions on whether or not that testing was super good enough. Now, I try, at least in the last 2 years, I have tried to communicate clearly. This was only a sample size of 3 or 6 or 10 or whatever, and we didn't drop test it, and I didn't change the rate of pull, and this is the diameter of pin. It's like this isn't conclusive, but just pulling on it with my one-trick pony, the brake test machine, that it did this thing. And it's interesting when you compare one thing to another thing when you just do this thing to it. Okay, maybe I will kick the standards as I go by. Everyone's like, oh, we don't know if your testing is good enough. You don't even know what the testing is of the CE rating because it's all behind a paywall. At least you get to see what I'm doing. And then when I go to test things independently, and I don't even look at the EN standard norms and all that crap to make sure I test it the same. I don't care about testing it the same. I just want to pull and see what happens because that's fun and it's more entertaining that way. And so when it doesn't do what the number says, I want to know why. I don't want to try to pull it the way they pulled it. I want to pull it in any way I want. Wouldn't it be neat if the standards, I'm getting on the train. I'll get off in a minute. Wouldn't it be neat if the standards tested 3 or 4 different ways and whatever performed the worst would be the minimum braking strength? I got this really great method to test something. We're going to pull it hella slow. No, catch on, wait. No way it could ever be pulled on in real life. And we're not going to tell anybody about how we do it. And the worst number we get in the best case scenario, we're going to call that minimum braking strength. Well, we're going to use Sigma 3 math. It's Mathemagic, 99.7% chance it never breaks below that. As long as you pull the way we pull it, which we're not going to tell you how. Shit, this is a whole different video. I'm not trying to be in this video right now. Now, if I test a quick link for 40, 50, or 60, or 70, or 80, there's for 90 kilonewtons, and all you're doing is rappelling on it. Am I concerned? No. You could repel with it not closed, and you're still not even going to probably deform it enough. Don't do that. I'm just hypothetical only. Is it a conflict to sell it? A conflict to sell the gear you're testing?
Every brand does that. Literally all of them have to test their shit before they sell it. How is that a conflict of interest? Making sure the stuff that you test is good.
Now, when I went to BD's lab, it was kind of refreshing to find out that the engineers test the shit out of what they're making and not just standards. They know what it's going to pass when they send it to get certified, but they also want to make sure like the product is going to be good overall. That's nice to hear. I also know of other manufacturers that don't test anything at all. The factory tells them a number and they're like, manufacturers that use other factories to make their stuff, that it's not in-house, like Petzl, for example. There's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of communication. They have a relationship with the factory. They're not just, ordering pre-made stuff and putting their name on it most of the time. But I think there's an infatuation with the brand that they're standing at the factory assembly line and they're just like, nope, more strong aluminum here, a little more sewing here, they're checking this. No, and they've never visited these factories. So what can a brand do? A brand can get specs from the factory. They can batch test themselves. This is where standards are good. Everyone has to go through the same funnel to get approved and before it goes out to market. A lot of the stuff made in Taiwan, China, and these off-brands can also get the same approvals. And some of them have legitimate certs, other ones do not. And you, as the end user, might not either take the time to look or be able to identify that their cert expired 3 years ago or that they photoshopped themselves onto a cert. So what if I was able to get stainless steel hardware that I verified was super good enough stainless, that was way overbuilt, and I put it on my shelf to make it available for bolters, because this is the problem I was trying to solve. I want to get bolting hardware that's affordable in stainless for people who are bolting with their own budgets or donated dollars. They're putting stuff in that everyone's using, right? It's a group effort to get routes put in. So it's frustrating to not see more affordable hardware on the market. And so I know enough bolters and I know what goes on that they'll buy quick links from the hardware store with the logic of, well, it's way stronger than my rope. Yep. But there are different qualities of steel. And people will use zinc-plated stuff. And it's nice to offer stainless at almost what plated steel costs for people who want the cheapest thing and are going to buy the cheapest thing. And I want to have better stuff out there. And so I'm willing to tie up more money than I should into buying a pallet of bolts, a pallet of quick links and rings and chain and all thread and different epoxies. I think that would really help the community out. Now, is selling off-brand stuff bad for the store? No, if I communicate that it is off-brand, that this is how I tested it. I tested 3 from every box, from every batch of everything, and that's it. That's all the testing anyone's doing, if you're lucky. I think there's an infatuation with some brands that they're testing every third carabiner. And then there's people who would just buy the cheapest stuff and put it in rocks that you trust your life to. It drives me nuts. Now, after much discussion with several bolters, I've decided whatever goes in the rock has to be name brand, high quality, because that's a pain to replace. Wedge bolts, it's going to be name brand. Glue-in bolts, name brand. Glue is going to be not random epoxy from China. I never see hangers break at a level that's dangerous for putting your life on it. If it's 4 mil stainless or not stainless, it's probably strong enough. And if it isn't, if the stainless is bad, if the quick link isn't the right kind of stainless, if it's not L when they said it was 316L and it was only 316, and somehow that mattered, for something that doesn't have a weld on it, then all of that hardware is super easily replaceable if it started to corrode. That stuff is so overbuilt, you can corrode, like the rusty stuff. I don't even know if I could break these. They're so strong. They're rusty. They weren't engaging in the rock well. But the metal itself, when it's a 1/2-inch crap bolt even, is strong. Even a carabiner, if it's off-brand, even if they don't use 7075 aluminum and they use 6061 because it's cheaper, those are the 12 kilonewton rated carabiners, by the way, for dog walking, firefighting, rescue, aerial silks, climbing, outdoors, adventure. Oh, in the fine print in the description, it says not for climbing. But all the pictures would lead you otherwise to believe it was. Those break at 18 kilonewtons. Don't use them for life-supporting gear. I'm just saying, carabiners have been so well developed at this point. If they use metal in that shape, probably going to hold you. Now, when you have moving parts like this thing and it's not made right and you got tolerances that aren't great on that guy, that is where you can have a problem. But back to the ethics of carrying off-brand stuff. I see how much work it is to bring a product to market. I have no desire to really do that. I am just trying to solve problems that I see, which is hardware is more expensive than it needs to be because it's not that special. Bolting hardware specifically. Something that took creativity and time and engineering to design and create. I do not want to undermine the work they're doing. I do not import Chinese titanium bolts, even though Sophia has hit me up, I think 30 times to do so, because I don't want to undermine what Martin is doing and now what Lapis is doing. They didn't invent the quick link.
No.
That's the thing. If you identify a mistake after products have gone out, how would you recall those products? Well, I have a customer list of everyone I sent it to, and so I'd be able to tell them those 90 kilonewton chain links we discovered 70 kilonewtons. No, but for real, I could communicate more easily with who I sell products to than a manufacturer or brand because I know who I sent them out to. I don't send them out to a middleman. How would you feel if someone got hurt or died because gear that you tested or sold failed? I've been in that situation for 7 years, putting information on the internet no one was willing to put out at the time. That's why it's called How Not to Highline, because that was the most creative disclaimer I could have for don't take this too serious. And it stuck. It's something I would rather teach people safe sex and abstinence. Some people might die because they watched a video, came to the wrong conclusion, and did something wrong. But I actually find more people, even with the joke super good enough, more people look at their gear a little bit more carefully, more holistically, and think of it better than what I saw before I started making these videos. Now, when people say, oh, you're saving lives, I don't know if I'm doing that because I might be introducing this sport to people that would never have gotten into it if they weren't randomly scrolling YouTube and I made this look more fun than it was. So I'm bringing more numbers in, but maybe lowering the percentage if I'm lucky, assuming a lot. People die. Some people have died highlining in the last year, and it sucks. We lose people. It sucks. But you're playing with gravity. It is to be expected. We drive, we get in car accidents, and we just all get back on the road. You get on the road to go to the funeral. It's like you accept risk to go do things. We accept these risks to go climbing, and I accept these risks to put this information on the internet. But I think having this information on the internet is way, 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 way safer than putting a UIA or CE rating on a piece of gear and go, good luck. You might not know why it failed and whether your testing was inadequate, or there was too much variance in the product quality, or if it was used outside the intended parameters. Well, then I would feel even less bad if it was outside of what it was intended use. What if you found out it was because of a mistake you made somehow? Seneca rock accident. I forget what brand rope, which is probably good for this example. Does that rope manufacturer feel bad? Petzl just put a bunch of Greons backwards. They had a recall. The Piranha, and these are name brand. People died with Black Diamond's avalanche beacon. And they didn't recall it after they knew it was defective. Edelred's knife that stabbed somebody because it opened while they were climbing. They didn't recall it. I pulled it off my shelf, but they still sell it. The crack in the Megajewel, the Edelred Megajewel, that just one batch, but that one was bad. The soldering wasn't good on some of the CCH original aliens, and they failed. This is the nature of making gear. Big companies have issues. I am going to try to avoid them as much as possible by being very transparent, testing the shit out of things, and only selling overbuilt things that'd be really, really hard to screw up. I also notice you have been facing questions regarding direction as a tester, reviewer, and retailer, and what your role should be. I like your videos and trust you, but when I saw the sponsored video testing a product that you then sold, the Bial Unicor ropes, I felt like it was a huge conflict of interest. You could be the most honest person in the world and still experience implicit bias. I don't have any conflict with it. I have frustration that more retailers aren't testing and reviewing stuff. This is good. Here you go. If I was sponsored by Petzl and I tested gear, that would be a conflict of interest. Like if this said Petzl, and I only tested Petzl gear, that's a conflict of interest. When I test everything, and if you watch the videos, you know I'm a little harsh. I'm so harsh, it's actually hard to get sponsorships. So much so that I don't really have any in the queue for testing like a specific product. The bolting video coming out shortly, not sponsored. I really like the fact that I test everything and sell everything. And you know how much Bial rope that I sold after making that video? If you watch the Unicor video, you see that I'm not shouting praises about it. That's a really nice way of saying it. I was afraid they were going to be upset. I'm grateful that Bial was happy with the video and that I put so much effort into it and that I thoroughly explored it and what its uses are good for and what it's not good for. The thing I'm frustrated with is they don't have a good static rope, something that I would take for a big wall to haul with, or a semi-static rope. Like, I would love to have Unicor on some of the ropes that I want to haul with. I think there's value in those niche cases. I don't think I need Unicor in like all these ropes that I climb with if I have no teeth on the device. Now, if it gets frayed a little and I'm rappelling, you can rappel past it, but I would butterfly a knot on that core shot. I wish people who tested communicated more and people who communicated their testing sold the products they were testing. I think this is the best device over this. This made my life hell when I started to brake test stuff. This has opened up a lot of doors for me. You can see how they both work. I've used them both. They've both been featured on the channel. I have used capstans. I've used Harken winches. I've used Ronins. And I love these Z2 drill-powered pulleys that I'm going to be making videos about. I did my homework before doing it, but you don't have to buy it from me. You can see all the testing I did. How many people do product reviews? We just watched a thing for like a foldable treadmill. Like, the handle goes up like this and it weighs 92 pounds and it's got these nice wheels in the back and it goes at 7.5 miles per hour. They're reading the specs and unboxing it. It's only helpful as if you wanted to touch it in a showroom before you bought something, but it's not helpful at all to know if like it actually works. I don't stop exploring a product until I can get the manufacturer to go, wow, or please don't post that. I like your videos and I trust you, but when I saw a sponsored video testing products you sold, it felt like it was a huge conflict of interest. Don't trust me. I show you all the information and I try to make it as concise as possible. We have 140 brake tests for Wednesday's video. And I don't make you watch all of them, but they are in a spreadsheet for you. And we go through all the conclusions that we kind of found. And then all the information. We're not just feeding you conclusions. It's like all the info's there. You can pause it or go to the blog and read it and look and make your own conclusions. And then you can read the comment section, which I joke is the peer-reviewed section, because you don't have to just listen to what I have to say. You can see if, like, a whole bunch of smart people can call me out for my bullshit, if there is any. There never is. Don't say shit like that. Makes me want to add it to the video. Maybe you should have an advisory board of climbers and bolters in the community. They wouldn't vote on things or control what you do, but they could help you work through different topics like this. My average video, unfortunately, takes me 3 to 9 months. The video you see Wednesday started over 9 months ago. There was a lot of people I talked to before I put it on the internet. I know it might not look like it, but you're getting a much more watered down version of Ryan, which is probably good for the brand. I've had many conversations about this bolting stuff with bolters I respect. And that is why we came to the conclusion that anything that goes in the rock, name brand, and I'm going to sell it at cost. I would rather take out the middleman to make it cheaper than to try to put in something cheap, because it's so hard to replace stuff. Please stop using plated steel. And the other hardware, I'm going to get overbuilt hardware, test the shit out of it, and it's on the outside and can be easily replaced if there was something I don't know, which I don't know, which I don't know what I don't know. So here's my goal for the shop. I do want to sell everything for climbing, caving, and canyoning in quantities that make sense. You have what you need when you need it. But also not just that, I want to make sure people understand what they're buying. You can buy rated gear and use it wrong and die or get hurt or whatever, or just be at risk that you don't need to be. Information is more important than your rating of your gear. Do you think information is more important than your rating? Do you think information is more important than the rating? How to use this device, this rated device, I think is more important than it being the right aluminum. Because you could have the right aluminum and the wrong information, and you get really hurt soloing. I don't even know if this is intended for soloing. But what if the aluminum was substandard, but you knew how to use it and how to mitigate it and how to back it up? I feel like that would be almost more valuable. It'd be nice if you had both. So the lack of information from the middleman you buy your gear from drives me nuts enough to try to make a store. What drives me nuts is it's stuff other people trust their life to, that they're installing.
Yeah, and now that I'm thinking about it, like, I've never once seen a rating on a quick link that I've clipped in the wild. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way that they're actually buying rated quick links. Like, all the developers aren't doing that. It's too expensive, and they know it's fine. And, like, when you're climbing, nobody ever thinks about it. You just clip the fucking thing. You know what I mean? And even if it's, like, rusty, like, it's 10 mil. You know what I mean? Like, it's this huge thing.
I forget what this broke at, but this was a rusty quick link that was in a cave. And it almost broke what I connected to it in the machine. So my contribution to the bolting community has been the Bolting Bible up to this point. But I noticed it's actually pretty hard to get a lot of the bolting hardware that you want, especially from one place. And you have to source from like 7, 8 different stores before you can actually have what you need to go, let's say, remove a bolt and put what you want in there. Rarely can you even buy Hilti 3500 from a place that sells the glue in that you want, that sells the core drill bit that you want, that sells the wrench that you want, that sells... It's a pain in the ass. I would love, and I'm working 7 days a week on it at this point, I would love to have everything a bolter needs. Everything. I'm going to be practice core drilling today. Everything. And then I would sell it with the kit, with the tube, with the thing that valved so you don't use too much water and how to do it and spares. And you could overbuy the components and then ship back what you don't use as long as it's still in good shape. You can't hurt a drill bit you didn't use. You can't hurt a core drill core bit that you didn't use. Like, man, when you go out in the wild and you need bits and one breaks, or you're deep in a cave and a bit breaks, that sucks. If you're willing and it's easy enough to carry extra components, it'd be nice to be able to have like 30 titanium glue-in bolts for your project, and then you only used 12, which is better, but you're not stuck with all 30 of them that you don't need. Like, what are you going to do? Drop it? Microfractures are a myth in titanium. If you have bolt removal tools, I could maybe loan them out and make it so you don't have to like buy this $400 device you use twice and leave in a closet. I would love to sell all the hardware you need for bolts at cost. And I'm going to be importing like importing stuff from Rammer, Lapas, Titan Climbing, all these great bolting solutions, there's no margin on it. By the time it's on my shelf and there's free shipping and a credit card fee and all this shit. Like, if you're supporting this channel, the way we price it is you're getting it at my cost. And I want it to be like that for people who are going to be buying in bulk and developing routes for everyone to share, because I want the best hardware out there. And I want to make sure if you're going to buy quick links from me, that I was able to batch test it, that they're stainless, that it matches the metal that you have on there. And I don't need to make money on bolting hardware, but I do need this to be sustainable. And so, in order to do that, being sponsored by Bial, I don't know if I signed a non-disclosure, but it was more than 1,000 and less than 3,000. It wasn't enough to even pay me $5 an hour for the time I spent making that episode. It was the validation and appreciation that they gave me that meant more to me than the few bucks I got. Being sponsored, this type of channel doesn't pay the bills. A normal sponsorship of a channel my size is $20,000. No one is going to pay that. And that's for a 30-second, if you have ever thought about, naughty stuff and you need to go to BetterHelp, or if you don't want anybody to know you thought of naughty stuff and looked up naughty stuff, there's NordVPN, and then there's Skillshare if you want to learn how to look up naughty stuff. This is Break Test brought to you by Raid Shadow Legends. Those literally are $20,000 for the big YouTubers. And YouTubers my size that get the views I get. Like, my ad revenue right now, I'm real honest about my numbers. Anywhere between $2,500 and $3,200 the last 6 months. And that's, I don't even know how we got that, because most of our videos don't get the views like they used to. What I do here is ran on a shoestring budget and still costs a lot of money. So I hope it's not a turnoff for some people if I sell products, if I try to have sponsorships, if I try to sell you a hat for $20 I make $2 on by the time, like, all the middleman that make the hat. It's like, I try to have 10 different sources of income to pay for what I'm doing. If I can make this sustainable, I can do more of it.